Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm just going to turn on my captions here and make sure that everything's all tickety-boo. One sec. Forgot to hit start. Whoops. All right, so happy Sunday. Thanks for joining me today. So because it's Sunday, we're going to be doing some sock knitting, which I have to say has been something that I've been looking forward to this week. Now that I'm well into this sock, it has been taunting me, and I've been wanting to just pick it up and start knitting. So I've been very good and did not do any off-stream knitting on this sock. So we're going to do it together. I may do the second sock off-stream. We'll see how that goes. It might be a little boring for you folks to watch a second sock exactly the same as the first, but it is what it is. So I have my coffee. Hopefully you have your beverage of choice and a project, and let's just jump right in here. So I'm just going to switch over to I'm going to put my coffee down first. There we go. Switching to the craft cam. All right, and I don't know if that stopped. There's my captions. Okay. So, I'm going to show you where we left off again. Let's see if I can get that. There we are. So where we left off were several repeats into the lace pattern that's going to be going all the way up the sock. So where we're at right now, we continue this lace pattern until the sock is 2 inches shorter than our foot length. So in this case, because these socks are going to be for me, the sock we're going to be knitting until this measures 7 inches roughly. I don't know what that is in centimeters. I did take a centimeter measurement, but I didn't write it down. 7 inches. We're all fairly familiar with that, I think. All right, so I'm just going to check my notes here. I think we did 4 repeats. I'm getting all tangled. I think we did 4 repeats. Yeah, we've done 4 repeats of the pattern. Oh, where did my pattern go? I need to bring that up. When I was setting up this stream earlier today, I was getting everything together, and I had a moment of, well, it was embarrassment, really. I couldn't remember what pattern I was working on. I couldn't remember what the name of this pattern was. So I sat there staring at my computer going, which pattern do I open? I don't know what we need to do here. Because this week I just haven't updated my tracking information yet to get that started. So anyway, I did remember, thankfully. We can go ahead and proceed with our pattern today. So the pattern, if you're in chat, you can type the pattern command _ pattern, which I have put in chat already. And it's there for you. It's called Bubbles All the Way Down by Very Pink. So it is a free pattern, and it's only available, although Very Pink has their own website, they don't have their patterns available on their website. So it's only available on Ravelry at this time. So if you have any problems with Ravelry, I know that there is some accessibility concerns with that site for many people. If you're one of those people and you want this pattern, just shoot me a message through my various socials. It's all good to go. It is free, so we can freely share the pattern if need be. So we're doing our first row, which, if you recall, this portion here is just the bottom of the foot. So it's just a straight stockinette, or just on the outside it'll be all knit stitches is all you'll see. So that's a stockinette stitch, and that'll be on the bottom of the foot. And then we move into our lace pattern. So I gotta check it out here again because I don't recall. I know it was easy, but it's only been a week, right? All right, so we knit 2, purl 1, yarn over, and knit 2 together. Here we are, and then purl 1, and that continues on. repeats across the top of the foot. Knit 2, purl 1, knit 2 together while incorporating the yarn over. I know that's a little confusing if you're unfamiliar with yarn overs. With this particular pattern, because my stitch before the yarn over is a purl stitch, the yarn just lays on top of the needle in order to, see if I can make the yarn here will just lay on top of the needle in order to make it a yarn over. If I was coming from the other side, from the right hand side, and I'll show you that on row 3, excuse me, if it's coming from the back side, pardon me. I'm very good at clearing this stuff up, aren't I? It's probably good that I don't teach this. Anyway, so if your yarn is in the back, it's a different process for yarning over. You would actually wrap it all the way around. But where the purl stitch is the previous stitch, I can just lay it on top. Which is why I tend to, when we're doing the knit 2 immediately after the yarn over, I just ignore the yarn and knit 2 as if I were knitting, because the yarn will actually lay right on top, like so. So I don't know if you see that or not. So the yarn is in the front, and I've picked up 2 to knit, and it just goes like that. I think I need to come up with a better way of showing you the actual knitting. I do enjoy sitting in a lounge chair to do this, but I think for the purposes of having you folks actually see the stitches that I'm doing and how I'm doing these things, it might be better if I had an overhead camera and sat straighter up. We'll see. How's the music today? Is it too much? Is it not enough? I don't know. It sounds fine on my end. I don't know why my playlist isn't showing as it's streaming. I normally have it coming through Spotify, and it normally shows up, but I don't know why it's not showing up today. I haven't changed anything in that respect. Again, I think it's probably has to do with the order of loading all the various softwares that I need. Streamlabs seems to be picky about the order that I open programs in. All right, I'm just going to pause for coffee here. It is a beautiful day here today. We had a couple of days of rain this past week, which is great because we desperately needed it. Had just a short little thunderstorm the night before last, which was lovely. The thunder was perfectly timed with the Supernatural episode that I was watching. So just as Lucifer appears on the screen, there's a flash of thunder, which is fairly cool. Flash of lightning, I suppose. Crash of thunder. Excuse me. And yesterday was the perfect day to go outside and do yard work, and I spent a couple of hours outside reading after that was all done. But in doing the yard work, I actually I don't know what I did to my arm, but for some reason my right arm is fairly weak. Just picking things up, just bringing the coffee mug to my face, I get all shaky and I feel stress in my muscles, and I don't know what that's about. So I may have overdone it yesterday. Not my preference. All right, round 2. Oh, we just knit them as they go, or work the stitches as they lay. So knits are knits, purls are purls, yarn overs are knits. So that makes it easy. Basically, it's knit 2, purl 1 all the way across. And that'll be the same for the 4th row in our repeat. Yeah, even just certain positions with my arm today, it's bothersome. I don't know what that's about. I'm getting old. Yeah, I've been finding that and I even tweeted this the other day, where it's now that I'm have dedicated projects for my streams, I find that I want to work on those projects all the time. It's really difficult not to pick them up in the middle of the week or in the middle of the day when I'm just sitting there having my coffee or whatever. So I have really been looking forward to picking this up again today. All right, so, and I have to apologize too. Oops, bumping into things. The other day, my other stream last week, I believe, I actually discovered in the rewatch that for the second half of the stream, we had a double mic happening. I had a significant echo, so sorry about that. I think it was my craft cam also has a mic built into it, and it was picking up from that mic as well as my streaming mic. So we had two mics going, although there was a delay on it, and it made for a really difficult time, I imagine, if you were watching that stream. So sorry about that. I think I have that fixed for today. If I don't, definitely let me know. It looks like everything's all shut off properly. Shut off and turned on, with the exception of the music, of course. The other thing I should let you know about is my internet has been spotty, and if you caught my gaming stream earlier last week, I think I even disconnected for a good 10 minutes during that stream without even knowing that I had been disconnected. So it looks like it's stable right now, so hopefully it remains stable, but I do have a few hours set aside for you folks today, so if I do disconnect, I will be back. All right, so we're on to row 3 of our pattern repeat, and it's just the opposite order from the first row. So the first 3 stitches in the repeat are the same. We knit 2 and purl 1. And then we knit 2 together, and this one I'll show you here. This one is how the yarn over is a little bit different. So we knit 2 together, and let's see if I can get into the camera here. So we've knit 2 together, so now my yarn is in the back, so I wrap it around, and it's coming back forward because I need the yarn in the front, because the next stitch is going to be a purl. So we go like so, and now we have another yarn over. And now my yarn's in the back, so I knit 2, purl 1, we knit 2 together. This isn't in the frame here. Knit 2 together. We yarn over and bring it to the front. So I find that because of the way those particular yarn overs work, they tend to be just that little bit larger than a standard yarn over, because there's just that little bit more yarn that we're using for the yarn over. That makes sense, right? Okay. And my intention with this particular pattern, I'm marking down how many repeats I've done of the lace repeats, all 4 stitches. We're marking down how many of those I've done, so that on the second sock, I don't actually have to measure, I just do the same number of repeats. And that way we're ending at the exact same spot where we need to end for heel transition. Legs are going to be the same length, all that. All right, that row is done. So what happened this week? Let's see. We had our last stream together was on Tuesday. We were doing the Banner Saga, which was pretty cool. I think I may pick that up a little bit more frequently because that's just an interesting game. I'm enjoying how that's going. And hopefully we get some input and the decisions and share that adventure together. Wednesday I did not stream, although it was my regularly scheduled stream time, because patios are open here and restaurants can start serving food again live, not just, through delivery or whatever, curbside. So it was really nice to be able to sit on a patio and have a steak freshly made exactly the way I like it. It was glorious. It's not the full dine-in experience yet, but we're getting there, and it's those little things that I just loved. We ended up going in the middle of the week, just to avoid too big of a crowd. I know that we were not the only people excited about being able to eat at a restaurant again. So we purposefully went in midweek in order to avoid too many people. We still are not out of the storm yet with regards to COVID, so still have to be a bit careful. Yes, most of us are vaccinated, but there's still concerns. So that's what happened this week. What else? I didn't do anything on my blanket yet either. That one has been calling to me for some time. So I think this Wednesday, that's what I'll be working on. And I may start the stream a little bit earlier than normal as well, just by like 30 minutes or so I can get some good crafting time in. I don't want to go too late throughout the week for the stream. So if I started at perhaps 7 o'clock instead of 7:30, that'll be a good timing. And we should be able to get several rows in on that blanket. So I've just finished the last of the 4th row there. So I'm just going to mark this off on my notebook. Oh, I did write down the centimeters that I needed. 18.5 centimeters we need to knit. So I'm not totally insane. I know that that's 7 inches. Doesn't matter. My tape measure has both. Pause for a sip of coffee. All right, and I did try on the toe as well. It fits. This is going to be just a perfect size sock. All right, so we have 1 repeat there. So we have a total of 5 repeats according to my notes already. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that counts correctly. So what I was just doing there on the counting, I'm not sure if you were able to catch that or not. Let's see. So we have rows of holes going up the toe. So all I did was count 1 row, 1 column of holes. So we have 5 holes, which makes sense. We did 5 repeats. So I don't know how many we'll need before we're done. I'm not even going to bother to estimate on that math. Oh my. I'm going to get my yarn all tangled. Ugh. Why do I do this? I don't know why I do this. I have been thinking with regards to the stream to do change my Sunday afternoon timing to a Sunday evening timing. Not quite sure about that yet, but if that's something that I do, I'll let you know. I know that I said that I was trying to work on something with regards to the stream to improve it for you for each week. This week has been a bit of behind the scenes types of things to make sure that my equipment is actually correct and in the right spot and working properly. I think I'm going to change the captions, how the captions work, because they seem to be, it's just this wall of text on the screen, and that's not really useful in my mind. I don't know. If you find that it is, of course, let me know. I'm open to suggestions and critiques. It's all good. I just did this wrong. Oh, I split my yarn. That's not cool. All right. So yes, I'll see if I can't work on some overlay work this week to improve things a bit. What else is happening? I got some news from work. I have a start date for my next phase of my my work schedule. So starting in July, I'll be able to start working full time again, which will be lovely. I really love that I have most of my time throughout the days is my own. I love that. However, it is time to start doing things again. Purl 1, yarn over, then knit 2. Okay, because we're on row 1. Yeah, it's definitely time for me to start doing things again. It's been a wonderful break, but things need to start progressing again. As much as I love being at home and doing things, I'm still going to be working from home, but at least there will be work to do, which is a start. And from there, once I'm done that particular phase of work, then I go on to my full-time job stuff, while taking night classes. So I'll be taking night classes in political science, my degree program. Oh, that's something else that happened this week. I officially graduated. I now actually hold a baccalaureate degree in economics. So that was official this week. It was a little sad because it came as an email and just was, hey, congratulations, you graduated. Your paperwork is coming in the mail. No convocation. So it's a little sad. It was a lot of hard work to get here, and it's certainly not something that I ever thought I would do. I went to university right out of high school, and was in a program that I just was not loving at all, and ended up flunking out. It was not a good time, and I ended up moving on with my life. Got married, had children, got stuck in retail jobs, and then I turned 40 and I said, this is not enough. I need to do something else. And so managed to make some changes to go back to school and complete a degree. So this is a big deal for me. So bringing that back to my plans for September, because I'll be working full time, I will be spending evenings doing political science courses, because my degree program has a minor in political science, and the master's program that I want to do in a few years it doesn't require a political science degree. I want to go into public affairs. And while economics does count for a public affairs master's, it's not ideal in my mind, not with what I want to concentrate on. So I will be taking I think it's only 7 courses that I still need, and getting a degree in political science as well, and then applying for my master's, which will be cool. I'm looking forward to that, because I love political science. I probably should have applied for political science right out of the gate instead of economics, but economics is enjoyable as well for me. And it's applicable to so many things. All right, so we're on row 2. of our 4-row repeat pattern. Okay. What else is going on? What else can we talk about today? I really need to start having like a list of things to chat about with you folks. Because it's all well and good that I ramble on about the pattern, but this pattern's starting to be easy and I don't have to think too much about it. I'm still getting errors for the internet though, so just give me 1 sec here. Yeah, I'm dropping frames. Seems to be a little bit more stable now though. We'll see. Hopefully it's still connected though. It hasn't said I've disconnected. Seems to be okay. Coffee, 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 coffee. I need to find a good coffee service. I think it's time now that I'm an adult to get a coffee service. It's the one thing that I will never give up. That I think will go a long way in my home. A good cup of coffee in the morning goes a long way. I don't need to be drinking Maxwell House every day, all day. I might drink less coffee if I had a better quality coffee. Maybe? Maybe not. I might just drink more. So I need to find a good coffee service. Or good beans that I can purchase at my local grocery stores. So if you have recommendations for Canada, that would be great. Let me know. What road did I say we were on? 2, I think. I think we're now on round 3. I think that was yeah, there's no yarn overs here. Okay. We're on round 3. So it's knit 2, purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, purl 1. Purl 1. We're still very washed out, aren't we? Let me see. Is that better? It's probably not better on my face, but it might be better as far as the actual knitting is concerned. Might be a problem with the white yarn. I don't know. We'll see how... Well, Wednesday we'll be doing an evening stream, so the lighting again will be different. Which is one thing, if we move our Sunday timings to an evening timing, the lighting will be consistent for all of the projects. So that's one thing. I find that many people have things on the go on Sunday afternoons as well. So if I switch to an evening timing, that might be a little bit more available, make it a little bit more available for everyone else. Because my goal for this stream is to foster engagement and community, right? So being available for that would go a long way. Oops. Almost did 2 purls in a row. That's not right. Okay. And coming up this week, my youngest child is finished school this week. So summer vacation can officially start. Phineas and Ferb style. Although I don't think that my kid is going to be engaging in any Phineas and Ferb like activities. I suspect it's going to be a lot of Titanfall. It's going to be a lot of Fortnite. That sort of thing. Vidya games. The captioning had no idea how to handle that particular term. Video games. There we are. He's very much a video game kind of kid. And with COVID not being able to go out and hang out with his friends, really makes it difficult to get out and enjoy things. There's only so many things you can do by yourself in your backyard. I mean, I would be fine, but for a kid, not so much. But we're getting there. Our vaccination rates are going up and up and up and up, and it's fantastic. So today is, of course, Father's Day in North America. I'm not sure if it is in the UK as well. I don't think so. I think the UK has a different day. But it's Father's Day here. So if you're a dad who's watching, happy Father's Day. It's not something that's hugely celebrated in this house, same as Mother's Day. We don't tend to go all out. We'll have some supper delivered. But that's pretty much it. There's nothing really big on that. Quick phone call to the appropriate dads, and that's that. It's never been a big deal in our house. I don't know what we could do differently anyway. These days. All right, this is row 4 of our pattern repeat. So coming along nicely. We've already done 2 pattern repeats today. So I'll mark this down here in a moment. And that's a purl stitch. Okay. I'm just eager to get through this bobbin. Like I said, this was because I had my yarn for this project is in a center pull ball. And I had started a different sock using this yarn, and it turned out horribly. I ended up with a hat instead of a sock. And so I pulled it all out, and of course I can't just shove it back into the center pull. It doesn't work that way. So I had to wind it around the bobbin. There's a lot of yarn here because, of course, I had used a lot of yarn. I didn't even make it to the heel on that other sock. It was crazy. But it used a lot of yarn, so I'll probably end up at the heel before I'm even through this bobbin and actually onto the yarn cake. So I think I've said it before here on stream. I certainly have said it off stream. There is not a single project that I have made where I haven't made some giant mistake somewhere. I have had some urges recently to work on my sweater, which is in parts. You can't see it in my background right now, but I have on my, what is that even called? It's a mannequin dummy thing that holds your pieces of fabric to be sewn together. Anyway, mannequin? Sewing mannequin? I call her Susan. On my Susan, she is holding pieces of a sweater that is fully knit, however not seamed together, and has been like that for some time. Like, I'm talking years. It's been ready to go, it just needed seaming. So I have this beautiful sweater that's nearly done. Never worn it because it's been in parts, because I dislike seaming so much. And the worst part of it is that the back is still, it's knit in, the back was knit into two parts. And it is grafted together because of the way that the pattern, there was some sideways cabling, and so it was knit in two parts, and then the back gets grafted together, which I am not good at grafting, so I am not looking forward to it. I'm not a fan of grafting at all. And so to do 130 stitches or something grafted, not my idea of a good time. I had considered trying to find a way of knitting it up without having to graft it, to do it all in one piece, but it just proved to be beyond my capabilities. It would have required me to do some cable work that I just couldn't wrap my head around. But I think I just messed up on this pattern. What am I doing? This is row 1. I need to knit 2 together here. Whew, did I do that on the other one? I did. Okay. No big error here yet. Brace yourself though, it's coming. So yes, I need to graft together the backs of that particular sweater, which is not something I'm looking forward to. And I am sure, I haven't confirmed yet, I am sure that I made an error somewhere in the front, on one of the front panels, where the shoulder stitches on the front do not match the number of shoulder stitches on the back, which would involve me having to pull out a large amount of knitting in order to correct that, because of course the shoulders should at least match size. They do on one side, I'm certain of that, but on the second panel I don't think that they do match. I think I made an error in measurement. So I had considered doing that all on stream, but I may not, because it's going to be involved and it's going to take some concentration on my part to figure that out. Maybe once I've figured it out and actually am doing the grafting on the back, that part I might be able to stream. We'll see. Or if I could find a different way of seaming it up so that it's an invisible seam, which is what grafting is supposed to be. It's supposed to be invisible so that you don't see. It looks like it's just knit together, ideally. But as I said, I'm not good at it. My tension goes all throughout out the window when it comes to grafting. And I have to watch video after video after video to get it in my head. All right, so I think we're on row 2 now. Try and remember to keep this in frame. I really think maybe a GoPro will work. Something along those lines. Or instead of an angel on my shoulder, have a video camera on my shoulder. Something like that. Okay. Row 2. Pause for a drink. So it says, my weather app says that it's 23 degrees here today, Celsius. I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit. 72, 75, something like that, roughly. Which is just gorgeous. It's just perfect. So I'm considering opening a window, but the entire neighborhood is outside. So you might hear an awful lot of noise in that respect. I'll see how it goes. Because there's no air movement in this room. And of course I have the door closed so that the cat doesn't jump in and interrupt the stream, or children don't come in and interrupt the stream. And I'm not picking up noises from the house. So there is no air movement. So a window might be worth having open here. We'll see. Of course, it might be a humid 23 as well, and it might just be a bad idea to let all that humidity into an air-conditioned house. It's a very repetitive song. I don't know if you can hear that song or not. That's definitely something I need to work on with my overlay, is for whatever reason, you not knowing what song is playing. I had looked into other services that play it right through Twitch. However, where I upload these videos to YouTube, they are not guaranteed to be safe for YouTube. Which, maybe it should be all the same everywhere. Consistency is good. So far this playlist has been good for both. Even though it's not, there's no rock music playing, which is my preference. But it's chill music. I was watching a stream the other day where the creator was talking about restricting certain conversations and not allowing, obviously, things like hate speech and that sort of thing, but disallowing political talk. Which is one of those things, and I agree with this streamer, it's code for basically hiding your head in the sand. It's, if you're not engaging in political talk, you're ignoring the issues that are happening everywhere, and how can you be a better person without engaging in this stuff? And I firmly am of the belief that I'm on round 3. I'm firmly of the belief that we are where we are with such division and problems with racism and homophobia and all that because many of us were raised not to engage in political talk. It was one of those things. I mean, if you're of an age similar to mine, I'm sure you recall the sayings where in polite company you don't discuss politics or religion. And yet I strongly feel that's why we are where we are. So I don't want to, I bring this up because it makes me think about the things that I want to talk about on stream. But it's also one of those things that I feel requires engagement. So I don't want to just talk about, political happenings around the world to myself. Because it's one of those things that requires people to be engaged. You can't be a citizen, a responsible citizen, in my opinion, without being engaged politically. And I don't need to know what political party or ideology you aspire to, that sort of thing, but there should be some discussion about everyday things, and there is not a single thing out there that isn't political in some way, including knitting. I say that because it's not something that I want to avoid on this stream, but it's also not something I'm going to just bring up when I'm talking to myself, because I know how I feel about things. I want to know how you feel about things. And if we don't talk about it, then we can't learn about it. And we become quite secular in our thoughts. That's my opinion. Yeah, it's just really, that's where my brain is headed, because I'm trying to come up with things to talk about with you folks, and that's definitely on my radar. I want to talk about that sort of thing, so just as a heads up. I definitely don't shy away from political talk, but I won't be doing it when there's no engagement. Oof. Somewhat political thought. It is June 20, what is today? The 20th today? 21st? 20th. 20th of June. Thank goodness for technology to tell me that really quickly. So that means in just a few weeks, it's Canada Day. So obviously with COVID, we can't do Canada Day celebrations too much. But I have a wonderful flag that I need to figure out how to actually hang properly. I don't have a pole or any kind of mounting on my home to hang a flag, but I really would love to this year. So that's something I'll have to figure out. I don't want to hang it just like in a window, you know, college student style, because I believe it needs to be respected and hung properly. There are even laws about this sort of thing, so I'll have to look up some videos and things about that. All right, so this is our final row of this repeat again. This is going fairly quickly. So the last week we did 4 repeats of our pattern and the toe. And today we have done, this is our 3rd repeat already. Pick out a cat hair there. So we may even be able to hit the ankle today, the heel, excuse me. That should be knit. If we can hit the heel today, that means next week we work the heel, and then the following week we start the leg, which would be nice, unless the heel goes quickly. We'll see. Hasn't been my experience that a heel tends to go too quickly. Usually takes me a few hours to work through it. All right, going to mark this one off. I don't know if I have my tape measure here in order to actually measure our length. I know that's not 7 inches anyway. During the break, I'll grab my tape measure. It's got to be around here somewhere. Couldn't have gone far. I lie. It could absolutely have gone far. It's probably one of my most used crafting tools is my tape measure. Oop. Keep splitting the yarn. I don't know why I'm doing that. It's not like these needles are extremely sharp. I mean, they're sharper than some of the other needles I have, but I don't even know what needles these are. I think they're Addi Turbos. I don't know. They're sock needles. I need to look into a sock needle interchangeable set. I have interchangeable needles, but they tend to be for larger yarns, heavier weight yarns. And so for sock needles, I think the smallest interchangeable size I have is a 3 millimeter. And these that I'm working with in my hands as we speak are 2.25 millimeters. So my interchangeables are not appropriate for any kind of sock knitting at this time. Round 1. So we're knitting 2, purling 1. And then we're yarning over and knitting 2 together. There we go. And then purling 1. I'm looking forward to my glasses arriving. They should be in fairly soon. So this knitting business will be a little bit easier to see, a little bit easier on my eyes. Because of course I'm moving up to a progressive lens. I probably should have worn my other lenses for today, but that's okay. I'll push through. The other lenses that I have that I normally use are what's called a relaxed lens, so they have just that little bit of reading power on the bottom of the lens, which is helpful when it comes to knitting as well, of course, because it's generally the same distance, at least for me. I'm not in frame again. Okay. That is the end of row 1 of our pattern repeat. Oh my. Oh, that's where my, okay, so just for context, I'm feeling a little bit of a bubble on this portion of the foot, and it's where I had joined. That was the end where the toe ended, so I was weaving in a number of yarn ends there, one yarn end there, and so it created a bit of a bubble and an uneven stitch, so I'm just going to even that out. It'll be fine though. It's not recognizable when you look at it. I just happened to have my finger there and felt it, and it caused me some concern. I need to correct something. There's something up with my commands in this as well. I think I need to work on that this week as well. If you were to type in any of my commands prior to the text that comes up, Streamlabs seems to have included an extra character of some random type. So we have a minus sign, we have a plus sign, we have a chevron. But it all seems to be showing up prior to my command text, and I don't know why, and it's random every time. It's quite strange. There's still so much to learn about this whole process. I'll get there. In the meantime, it'll continue to annoy me. I haven't dropped any frames since I last checked either, so my internet seems to be quite stable, which is lovely. I don't know where we were as far as length at the end of our last stream, so I can't really, I think we were about halfway up the foot, close to 3 inches at that point. On our break, I will find my tape measure, find a tape measure, and we'll take some measurements and see where we're at, get a better idea of how long this is going to take. All right, that was row 2, I think. I'm starving. Maybe I'll grab a snack too. My snack of choice these days has been pretzels with queso. Really yummy. That is a good TV snack. Not great if you're working with yarn though, because it's sloppy. Depending on your quality of queso. If it's nice and thick, then we're good to go, but any queso is good queso. Definitely tell I'm hungry because I'm talking about food. So I'm going to have to definitely grab a snack. I did have lunch before starting the stream, but I'm still hungry. Grab some fruit or something. Oop. I keep knitting underneath the stitch. If I go too quickly. I don't feel I'm a particularly fast knitter, but I'm not slow either. There are some knitters out there, and you can watch some videos of some speed knitters. Oh my gosh, those people. So insanely fast, and it's all in the technique, right? I used to do some, I haven't had the time to participate in the last few years, but it was Sock Madness, which was a competition, sock knitting competition. Yes, we can get competitive about this stuff. So Sock Madness is, it was hosted on Ravelry, and it was a competition to see how fast you can knit a sock. And every round they would cut people out. People would drop off, and basically it was going to the last man standing, the last, however fast you can go, the fastest sock wins. No prizes or anything, of course, but at the end of it all, you end up with 7 or 8 pairs of socks and all kinds of patterns, which was great. Certainly, I think the farthest in I got was to the 3rd last round. That was as good as I got. We're on row 3 now. Okay. It definitely opened my eyes to how fast some people can knit. There were some very fast knitters. And no real correlation knitting 2 at a time or 1 at a time. It didn't seem to matter. It was just, it all came down to the individual. Because I know that's been used as an argument for doing 2 at a time socks. Sometimes that's faster. I didn't find it faster. It's not something that I can do is 2 at a time. I found it slowed me down significantly because it is a new technique for me. And not one that I can wrap my head around. So it worked out that way for me. To do 1 at a time, and which is my preference. Same thing with circulars. I can knit on circulars, but I tend to get a lot of laddering on the joins and whatnot, and the tension is off for some reason, which makes absolutely no sense to me. There should be no reason why my tension should be different on a circular needle versus a double-pointed needle. But here we are. It just is. Once we can actually see people again, I may just go see someone who can teach me live and in person. to knit properly on circulars. Because I don't know why. That's not something I can grasp. I'm not a new knitter, so this should be easy, but here we are. I think that was row 3 that we just did. I know we're on an even row right now. Yes, that was row 3. Just looking at the position of the yarn overs. It goes fairly quickly once we get into it. So this is the end of another pattern repeat, and it should be 8 pattern repeats at that point. We'll confirm at the end of this row, which will be twice the distance that we went on the last stream, which is great. Just as a quick estimate, we'll probably have to do about 14 to 16 pattern repeats altogether. Just off the quick glance. Of course, I'll confirm once we actually measure. Oof, I may have to take a break early because I cannot get over how hungry I am right now. Starving. And I just found out that there is a sandwich shop that just opened up just blocks from my home. So of course I've been thinking about that. Uh-oh. 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 I missed a yarn over on the last row. Okay, I'm just going to create it here and hopefully that'll... I only have 5 stitches. Oh, doesn't look like a yarn over. Because I knit 2 together there. That's gonna have to be the error that I made. That particular yarn over does not, it doesn't look like a yarn over in that place. That's okay. It's on the edge. It's okay. I'm not pulling back. It'll be fine. So that should be 8 rows. 8 repeats, excuse me, not 8 rows. I'm just going to count just to be sure. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yay! And that's looking like almost 4 inches. Pretty good, pretty good. Maybe 16 repeats. Maybe 16, because if we need another, we had about 1.5 inches of toe. And another 8 repeats. Looks like to be another 3 inches or so. Maybe 14. We'll find out when we measure. Oh, my coffee is cold. I think if I am going to do the grafting on stream, I'm going to have a different setup. I think an overhead camera is going to have to be the appropriate view for that one, right? Excuse me. I just remembered I have to submit my eyewear claim. Adulting. This is something that I have to pay attention to. Who has time for adulting? Adulting, yeah. Oh, that one. Okay, so I clearly have an accent or something because the caption picked up adult team versus adulting. And when I said adult team, it wrote adulting. I know I mumble. The problem with automatic captions, I guess. All right, this is round 1. I'm trying to get comfy here. And remembering to do my yarn overs so I don't have the same thing that I did the last time. That would be bad. But like I said, there's a mistake in every single project, and that was the first one for this one, I think. Did we have a mistake last time? I don't recall. It happens so often that I just don't think about it. There is no noticeable mistake that I'm aware of. Certainly none that I'm noticing right now. And that other error may not even be noticeable once we get a few rows in, so we'll see. It's just going to look like a missing yarn over. Which is exactly what it looks like. There is a little tiny hole, but it's so tiny. So tiny. Doesn't look like a little lace hole at all. The tremors in my arm is making it difficult for me to stay in stream here in the view. It's just not comfortable. I wish I knew exactly what I did so that I could fix it. That's it. No more yard work for me. No more yard work. It's my excuse. Oh, my tummy's starting to rumble. Hopefully you didn't hear that. And if you did, well, my tummy rumbles because I'm a human being. And that's what happens with humans. We get hungry. I still don't know what I'm going to grab for a snack, though. I need something quick, and I don't know if I'm going to eat it on stream. It's going to be crunchy, probably. And that's not good. So something not crunchy. Or something that I can scarf down quickly. I'm sure we have some granola bars or something laying about. I'll do that. Is that in the music that I'm hearing that sound? Sounded like little footprints, little footsteps. Or maybe it was one of those rain sticks. Maybe. That makes sense. It might have been something outside as well. I don't know. That was a really big yarn over I just knit. Yeah, I think it's a rain stick. There it is again. The only downside to doing an evening stream on Sundays is it would be a shorter stream. Unless I start it like earlier. I don't know. Like I said, I don't like going too late in the evenings because I need my beauty sleep, you know. Not that I'm sleeping well these days anyway. Yay, menopause. It is what it is. This one has like nature sounds in it. Maybe that's what I should look into for my background music, is some nature sounds. Birds chirping and whatever. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I don't know what kind of row I'm on here. I think this is row 3. Yep. All right, so we knit 2, purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over and purl 1. Knit 2 together. Few rows down, there's a very long stitch and it makes me think I've probably made an error in there. It's likely. Or my tension for that stitch was off. It's fine, we'll just keep knitting, it's totally fine. Knit 2 together, yarn over. I don't know why I'm not grasping this at the moment. There we go. Okay, I've remembered to do the yarn overs all the way along this row. That's good. Getting desperate for a haircut. My hair is, I thought going short would be easier given COVID. It is not. I used to have fairly long hair and chopped it all off in January, I think. March. earlier this year. Anyway, I had chopped it all off, thinking it was going to be easier, and then we went into another lockdown, and I think I've lost my internet. Are we here? My captions have stopped. Says I have internet access. Okay, my captions are back. Okay, maybe it was just a hiccup. Anyway, I thought the shorter hair would be easier, but it's just at the right length where, especially in the back, where it's tickling my neck and it's irritating. I really need to see my hairstylist. Couple more weeks. Ontario's doing well with vaccinations. We need to be at 70%, I think, for the next stage, and we're very close. I think it's 70%. Yeah, it looks like the internet is back. I don't know what happened there. It just was a hiccup. Well, if I disconnected, I'm sorry. There is a lot of construction happening in my neighborhood, and there has been some problems with construction crews actually cutting the lines, the internet lines. So I suspect that's still a problem until the construction is done. But, you know, it's that whole saying, right? There's 2 seasons, winter and construction. Insert your place of residence here. That's generally the phrase. All right, so this is row 4 of our repeat. Going well. I think I will do one more repeat after this one, and then we'll take a break. And more importantly, I will have a snack, so as to stop my tummy from rumbling. I think this will be our 9th repeat. Our 9th pattern repeat. Yeah. It does look a little bit like bubbles. I don't know if you can't really tell. Let's see. Look how far up my hand that is. It's all washed out. Honestly, the lighting, I really need to work on this. I probably need like a whole studio to get the right lighting right. But if you follow me on any social, I've been posting photos that actually shows the pattern nicely. So I'll do so again at the end of, maybe not today, hopefully tomorrow. We'll get an updated photo of the project anyway at the end of the stream. It doesn't help, I think, that the sun went behind the clouds, so that changes the lighting a bit. This music, man. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it is a Star Wars themed song. Which I'm not adverse to. I don't know if I was mentioning this past week. So I know I've mentioned that I'm a nerd, a bit of a geek. And I actually have a My Little Pony / Star Wars tattoo. And have been wanting a second tattoo, also in a My Little Pony theme, but with Star Wars as the crossover. So I think I may have found an artist who can do that up for me, which is very exciting because it's something that I've wanted for a while. Basically, my idea is to have Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash in the roles of Leia and Luke, respectively, swinging across the what would that be called? The bridge in the Death Star. You know that scene where she pecks him on the cheek and he's like, wait, this is a girl, and then they swing across the bridge. So I want that done with Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash, but with their respective personalities. So Pinkie Pie would be freaking the shit out, and Rainbow Dash would be all stoic and heroic. I just think that would be cool. I'll definitely be sharing images of that once that gets done. So hopefully it works out with this artist. It's going to be a collaborative effort, if I'm understanding correctly, by a couple of artists at that particular shop. So it'd be great. Okay. Round 1 done. It would be great if I had the talent to be able to draw that myself, but I do not. Not very good at that sort of thing at all. Okay, so we're on to row 2. Round 2. We're working in rounds. Yeah, I think at the end of this pattern repeat, I'll definitely take a break here. We'll have been streaming for about an hour and a half. At that point, it's definitely time to pause and stretch our legs and use the facilities. But I'll do the 2 more rounds before we do that. And I think I am going to open a window. It is noisy outside, I can hear it, but we need some air movement in here. Hopefully it's not prohibitive. The noise, I mean, not the air movement. Hopefully the air movement isn't prohibitive either. We'll see. Okay. Starting round 3. I love the stockinette bits. They just go so fast. There's no thought required. Although the lace pattern doesn't seem to be taking much time in either. This is what I think the Knitmore girls would term potato chip knitting. Because of course with a potato chip you can never have just a single potato chip. And in terms of potato chip knitting, you just can't stop. Just do one more row. Right? That makes sense. I think this is probably the perfect kind of yarn for this pattern. It doesn't have any type of pooling or anything like that. It's just the speckles of blue in the yarn. This pattern might work out nicely with a self-striping. That would be different. But it's hard to find the exact right yarn for some patterns. Some patterns are just designed for self-striping and others are just not. And then of course until you knit it up, you really don't know some yarns how they look. The benefit of a swatch, I guess. The purpose of a swatch in some cases, I suppose. So this is round 3, so of course the yarn overs come after the knit 2 together. I've run out of yarn. I think I'm going to adjust my frames a bit as well, since I clearly am not staying in frame. We'll have to fix the craft cam during the break as well. That's probably something I should work on with the UI, is a bit more zooming in on the craft cam and working on the actual right spot for said cameras. Not for sent cameras. Honestly, captions. I don't know what row we just did. Row 3? Yes. So this will be the last round, the last row before our break. This really is slightly mindless, which is great. Slightly meditative. This would probably be a great exercise to do when you're working on mindfulness. I know that's something that my Fitbit tracker has started to add on as mindfulness moments, which is great for mental health, I suppose, but it's not something that I tend to do. Okay. Last one. Did I lose a yarn over again on this one? I did. I made that same error. Oh, I can't even. Really? Why? Why am I constant? And it was in the same spot. Well, that's just going to be my thing, I guess. So that should be 10 repeats. Just do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 repeats. And we're at least 4 inches there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a break, grab a snack, use the facilities, find a tape measure so we can actually measure our length here. But it's looking good. It's looking very good. I'm very happy with this. So I will try and be only about 5 minutes or so. Feel free to grab a beverage and a quick drink, and we'll be back. All right. Okay. We're back. I'm just going to link the pattern again here for you. If I can get onto the right screen here. One sec. There we go. Let me get the captions going again. Okay. So as I said, this pattern is bubbles all the way down. It's a toe-up sock. I don't know what kind of heel it is because we haven't gotten there yet. And we are working on this one to get to 7 inches or 18.5 centimeters in order to, that can't be right, 18.5 centimeters? Huh? Okay, yeah, 18.5 centimeters before we work the heel. So I have my tape measure. Let's see where we're at here. We are at just under 15 centimeters, so only 3 more centimeters to go before we work the heel. That is a lot farther than I thought. I apparently have no clue how big things are. So we've done 10 lace repeats so far. Yeah, we're just under 6 inches. And 1 lace repeat. We'll probably only need about 3 more. So I'll measure these out. Let's see, what did I say? 18.5 centimeters. We need it to be there. We can definitely get there today. Definitely get there today. I'm sorry for my lighting right now. The sun has definitely come out. So let me see if I can counteract that lighting a bit. Ooh, that's gonna blind me though. Maybe. I may have to close a curtain. Anyway, that's where we're at. So we only need, what did I say? 3. Oh, why can't I not remember this stuff? 3 more centimeters roughly. Just over an inch, which is great. And then we can start the heel. We may even be able to start the heel today. Let's see here. I also moved my craft cam a bit during the break, and it's clearly not enough. Bear with me. There. My mic is a little bit in the shot, but at least you can see the knitting centered in there anyway. I should make sure there's no double audio here. No, all other mics are off. Okay. That was very strange last week. I don't know how that would have happened in the middle of the stream. I don't know what I did differently last week to have that happen. So if it's happening now and you hear that echo, please let me know. And I will do what I can to correct it. All right, so I said 1.5 centimeters. Now, hold on now. I'm just going to check to see roughly how many each round, how many centimeters that is. And that'll give us a better idea of how many rounds we need to do here. And I think we need to finish off, I don't know if we need to finish off on a specific round. One moment here while I check. No, it is a short row heel. So the good news is we don't need to stop on a specific spot on our lace pattern. We just knit our lace pattern and then we work the heel on the sole only and then just pick up our lace pattern wherever we ended up. So that's nice. Let me just measure. Rough estimate. 3.5 centimeters is right. Did I say we needed 3.5? How many centimeters do we need? 18.5. And we are at 14.5. So we need 4 centimeters. 4 centimeters is approximately 3 repeats. So we'll do 3 lace repeats and then measure where we are. There's too much math in this. Socks, man. That sun is very blinding. I don't know what I need to do here. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, that's better. There we go. There we go. The color is so much better now. I mean, I'm still washed out, but you're not here to see me. You're here to see the knitting. Right? I would assume. Got my bobbin. Oh, this bobbin. I've got it backwards again. Okay, so that needs to go in there. Okay. And out of the way. There. All right, so we are on round 1 of our repeat. So we knit 2. Yeah, this is a better height and everything. It's looking way better now that I've closed the curtain slightly. Yarn over, knit 2 together. I think that's where I'm going wrong at the end of round 3, where I've been missing those yarn overs, as I'm acting like it's a round 1. But I'm not including the yarn over at all. I don't know, maybe I'm just not paying attention properly. Excited to be done the round. So I said 3 rounds, right? So that's pretty close. That's 13, and I said anywhere between 14 and 16, so that's not bad. I'm gonna move that other way because I'm gonna knock it over. Okay, knit 2. Now I need to yarn over, knit 2 together, and purl 1. Knit 2, purl 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, and the downside of having missed the yarn overs on the previous couple of rows there is the tension on those stitches are now wonky. Well, I have to be consistent in my errors, right? There always has to be an error in my work, or it just wouldn't be. What am I doing here now? What is going on? I'm tangled again. Didn't I just untangle myself? Goodness. Goodness me. Okay. I should be untangled now, hopefully. I may have to look into different lighting in this particular setup. I'm just taking a look around the room here to see how I can arrange the lighting. I may have to do something right above my webcam that way. We'll see. That is another day problem, not today. I did this past week finish my Assassin's Creed hooded scarf, excuse me, not hoodie. Although that might be something to create. Maybe. Anyway, I did finish that hooded scarf. It is now available up on my shop, so through, I don't know if it's on my socials or not. Let me see here. I have Instagram and Twitter. No. And I just realized that my link to my Instagram is my personal Instagram, which is fine. I still post things on there, but it doesn't have my shop information on that one. So, oh, excuse me. I had to sneeze. On my YouTube for sure has a link to my Facebook page for my shop. I'm going to have to change my socials so that I actually have the proper information for the shop. Anyway, it's there. It's all linked there. But it looks cool. It's a very neat product, and I really like it. And it's done in red and white, and because of course Ezio has a white hood in most cases. If you're familiar with Assassin's Creed. However, if you want to be stealthy, you don't tend to wear white, so I'm going to do one in black and red as well, which requires right now black yarn, which I don't have. I could do the red portion. It's lined in red, and then the outside would be black. So I can at least do the red portion anyway. So I think that'll be the next project that I start up while I go out and wait to go out to purchase black yarn. I may just do a roadside pickup for that, because that was hecka easy picking up other yarn over the last few months that way. The downside is that the dye lots, even for the white yarn, was drastically different. And that's the problem with acrylics in general, is you can't guarantee the dye lots are going to be the same. So, and it wasn't until I had worked up, so in this particular pattern, the hood works differently, is worked in one piece, and then the scarf is worked in one piece, and then they're sewn together. And it wasn't until I had sewn them together that I saw the big difference in the white. So you would not think that white would be a dye lot concern. However, one was significantly more yellow white than white white. And they were purchased from the same place on the same day. I imagine from the same shelf. But like I said, with acrylic yarn, it's not, dye lot is generally not a concern for producers of acrylics. I think I just worked row 2. I don't know. All right, there are no yarn overs here, so it is yeah, I need to do round 3. So for this round, I knit 2, purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, purl 1. That yarn over is the one that I missed 2 times. So let's see if I can pay attention enough this time to remember the yarn over. And it was always on the last of the repeats. Now it's getting too dark in here. This lighting is a problem again. Wrong one. How's that? It seems okay. Seems okay. Let me see if I can adjust them. Mic cables out of here. I have cables everywhere. It's just everywhere. Okay. Round 3. And we're knitting 2 together, yarning over and purling. Knit 2, purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, purl 1. This is the one where I always mess up. Let's see. And be conscious of the fact that this is where I have made errors. Knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. So I did remember the yarn over here. Okay, which means round 4 of this repeat should be good to go. Alrighty. I did grab a snack during our break. I had a kiwi. We had purchased these kiwis about a week ago or so from the grocery store. And of course, at least here in Canada, tropical fruit is never ripe. When you purchase it, rarely ripe when you purchase it. And so you do need to give it a couple of days for it to fully ripen before you can dive into it. And these particular kiwi are still not fully ripe, which is very strange. They're still fairly hard and sour, and they should be almost past ripeness now based on a timeline that we purchased them, but it's a little frustrating because kiwi is one of my favorite fruits. I always have time for kiwi. So to be patient and have to wait to eat it is not a good time. Yeah, we still have lighting, huh? I think it's that sun keeps going behind the clouds, and it's awful. I'm sorry. We're just going to keep it this way. All right, so we're on row 4 of this round. And then we only need 2 more rounds. I think we'll be able to at least start the heel today, which is very exciting. It's exciting to me. I like making quick progress on these projects. So far, no missed stitches, because I was conscious of what I was doing last round. I just knit that stitch, and it should have been a purl. There we go, correct that. So while I was conscious of my possible errors the last round, I definitely was not conscious of them this round. Yeah, I have the correct number of stitches waiting for me here, which is the plan. All right, so that was round 4. We'll do that 2 more times, and then we'll take another measurement, and we should be good to start the heel. And with a short row heel, I don't know if you recall how we did our toe last week. That was a short row toe, so it's basically knitting back and forth across the 2 needles, which I may have to rearrange how we have things set up. But yeah, the heel stitches need to be on 1 needle, and the lace will be on 2 needles. And then we just knit back and forth, shorter and shorter stitches each row, just turning partway through the row, and that creates a little bit of a bump, which will be perfect for a heel. That is definitely one of my preferred methods of making a heel. And it's easy to do when it comes with a toe-up sock. alternate methods are you would knit a flap and then pick up stitches along the flap, which creates a very nice heel. But picking up stitches is not my preferred. I tend to go uneven. All right, we're on round 1. So we're yarning over prior to knitting 2. I may have to do a, that is wrong. I just did, I needed to yarn over and then knit 2 together. And I yarned over after the knit 2. I caught it though. Purl, yarn over, knit 2. Purl. I should have grabbed more coffee. Now I could use a coffee. That's all right. I hate this bobbin. This bobbin needs to be emptied. You see that? Keep twisting it. Let's see if this will work. Maybe. I don't need to be adding to my troubles by knotting up my yarn. Okay. Where am I at here? This is a round 1. See, this is what happened. I stopped in the middle of a round and got completely lost, which is why you should never stop in the middle of a round. I yarn over, knit 2 together, purl 1. But I needed yarn, that's why I stopped. Okay. Good, good, good. That row was successful. That was round 1. So we're on an even round next time. I'm just excited to get to the heel. I'm gonna have to dig out my needles too. Actually, I could probably switch it off. I think I'm dropping the internet again. So if I lose you, stick around. I'll be back. Might be dropping. Starting to get error messages. Part of the problem is our ISP uses another company's lines. They're the provider and we get their discounts, but we're using the service from a different company. And so to ensure that we have strong internet, it has to go through 2 different companies. So if there's a problem, we have to contact our ISP, who then contacts their provider. It's a very long-winded way, but internet here in Canada is not a monopoly exactly, but it's close. There are 2, maybe 3 companies that control the market, and the rest of us are at their mercy. All we can do is try and find the best deal. part of the problem is the cost of infrastructure just to get something like that started. We're not, I mean, Canada's very empty. So it's not like we have cities that span most of the country. There's a lot of green space that requires a lot of infrastructure to have this stuff built and in place. And that's very expensive to do. So we kind of need to have it provided by those companies that can afford to do so. I almost knit that purl stitch again. All right, that was round 2. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's one screen is showing me the internet is fine. The other screen is showing me that it is not. But I'm not showing any dropped frames or anything, so I'm just going to assume that we're good to go. All right, so we're going on to a round 3. I just got distracted browsing the pattern. I have the pattern up on the one side there. Sorry, I'm just going to refresh my page here and see if that fixes things. With regards to my one screen telling me we've dropped the internet. No, I was looking at the pattern on the one screen here, and it's saying that on even rounds I need to repeat it 10 times to the end of the round, and I was a little confused because I've been doing 5 repeats, but then I realized that it's a repeat of 3 stitches, not 6 like we do on the odd rounds. So we're okay. I just lost my head for a moment. Between the stitch markers we have 6 stitches, but on even rows we're repeating 3 stitches across. Knit 2, purl 1, all the way across. Oops. Okay. I realize I'm stopping in the middle of a row, but I'm out of yarn again. That worked out better, keeping the bobbin right there. Oop. If I can pick up my yarn. And this is an even row, so I don't need to worry about the yarn overs. I think this is an even row. Yes, okay. Yes. Thought for a second that I had missed, that I just did 2 even rows in a row. Why not? Let's just add another error in this. I am adding 2 even rows. I should be on a round 3 right now, and I'm doing a round 4. So I'm just going to take this back because that's going to mess everything up. It's going to mess up our counts when we do our second sock. It's going to mess up the pattern. It won't be even. Yeah, there's the worked stitch. I don't know if you can see that. There's the worked stitch from the previous round showing that it's an even row. That's fine. It's a perfectly normal thing for me to have done. So that means we are on round 3 because my yarn over was prior to the knit 2 together. Yeah. At least it's only one row and I caught it during the row. That's what I'm going to tell myself, that this is fine. I've caught it. So despite grabbing a snack, my tummy is grumbling again. Supper cannot come fast enough today. Okay, so start of the row. Knit 2, purl 1. We're on a round 3, so I need to knit 2 together. And then yarn over, purl. Knit 2 together. No. Knit 2, purl. Knit 2 together. Yarn over, purl. Knit 2, purl. Okay. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're making it through here. It's all good. Knit 2 together, then yarn over. It's remembering the yarn over on this row. Remembering what row we're on. And this is the problem stitch. So we do a yarn over. There we go. Way to go, team. All right, now we're on round 4. And then we'll do one more set of rounds, and then we'll take a final measurement, and we should be able to start the heel at that point. I think I need to start using some zip ties or something and move all my cables out of the way. A giant cable in the middle of my screen here. That's just at the top, it's okay. Okay, so round 4. I'll pull out some yarn so that I'm not stopping in the middle of the round. Okay, good to go. So knit 2, purl 1. Yeah, that's more like it. I'm knitting a yarn over like I'm supposed to be. And there's an appropriate number of stitches between each repeat. It's only taken 6.5 inches of knitting to figure this out. I may have to start a different sock because I can feel that I want to continue knitting this after the stream. And since I've committed to this being a stream sock, that would be a bad idea. All right, that was round 4. There's my water. Excuse me a moment. Okay. I've given up on the cold coffee. Alrighty. One more set of repeats, then we'll measure for the heel. Today is the summer solstice, isn't it? Hooray for summer. It is my favorite time of year. I am not a person who enjoys the cold. I'm all about the heat, which is ironic considering where I live. Fortunately, we live in an area of the country where it gets very hot in the winter, or in the summer, excuse me. Very humid too, which is not my favorite, but the heat I love. Similarly, it gets very cold in the winter. There's quite a swing in temperature throughout the year. All right, so we're on round 1, I said, right? So we're knitting 2, purling 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, purl 1. Oops. There we go. Can't knit 2 together if you don't actually have 2 to knit together. Oops, don't turn that. I almost missed a yarn over. Shakti, what are you doing? Knit 2 together, no, knit 2, purl 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, purl 1, end of round 1. We're making our way through this bobbin slowly. We're gonna have to it'll probably finish the entire heel before we make it through the entire thing though. Which should give you some indication of just how big that other sock I was working on was. It was awful. I'm sure I have a photo that I took somewhere. It was really bad. It was one of those recipe type patterns where based on these measurements you need this many stitches, etc. But I clearly made too many mistakes in too many places and ended up with a hat instead of a sock. I may just knit the heel on these 2 stitches, on these 2 needles, I don't know. I probably will. Okay, so this should be a round 2. Which means knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, purl 1, etc. Yeah. through. I just realized my live stream is saying that I'm streaming a game and not knitting, despite having gone in to change everything back to a knitting tags. I'm seeing that it says the Banner Saga. That is frustrating. Why would it say that if I've gone in and changed it? Technology is great when it works, so I'm sorry if anybody came here expecting to see a game, but it's Sunday, so I'm sock knitting. Maybe my internet dropped when I did all that, so it didn't take anything. I don't know. I'm gonna blame technology. Because it's never the user, right? Of course not. Okay. Moving on to round 3. Yeah, I know I said that I would probably do a heel on 2 needles, but I think it'll be better if I do it on the 1. Yeah. And actually work it as the pattern says to work it. My screens are going wonky again. Internet, man. Internet. Where I am right now, where I'm streaming from, is farther away from the router than I usually am with my computer. And since I am wireless, that may be a problem. I may have to connect up to an extender instead. Maybe I'll try that for the next stream. And hopefully I'll have a better internet without too many interruptions. We'll see. All right, so what did I say? We're on round 3, I think. Yes, round 3. So we're knitting 2, purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. One, two, purl 2, knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. I think saying it out loud is going to be the only way that I stop myself from making repeated errors. Knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. It's that yarn over that I miss each time. Okay. Knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. Last one. Okay. And then we'll do one more row and then I'll measure for the heel and we should be good to go. 2, knit 2 together, yarn over and purl. I remembered all the yarn overs, gang. Hooray! Okay. So this one's an even row, so it'll go fast. And then I'll have to pull out my extra needles, which are around here somewhere, I'm sure. I was so prepared for today. It's fine, it's summer. It's summer. I think we decided on a nice, cool supper. We're going to do sandwiches for supper because it's the perfect day for that. Some roast beef sandwiches. don't tend to like to do too many hot meals in the summertime. I'm definitely a barbecue kind of gal. Outside is best. Okay, so this is an even row. And the last one prior to taking our measurements. So let's see here. Knit 2, purl 1. I feel like I have something stuck in my teeth. I hate that. Okay. Knit 2, purl 1. I'll also confirm my count for my repeats for the second sock so that we know where we've stopped, and so that we stop at the same spot for both socks, which is why I had to pull back that other row. Because otherwise there would be an extra row on one sock and not on the other. And that doesn't seem like it should be a big deal, but it can be. Okay, last stitch. We should have 13 rows now. 13 pattern repeats, excuse me, more than 13 rows. Let's see if my internet is back on that screen. Anyway, all right. So we should have 13 of these handy little bubbles. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Perfect. Let's measure. And we need 18.5 centimeters before we start the heel. Folks, that is pretty darn close. Yep. We are actually at 18.25. So we need one more row before we work the heel. So I will work the one row. It's going to have yarn overs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeats. So I will have a yarn over where I need to break the needles. Not break the needles, where I stick an extra needle in there. Okay, so that's what I'll do. I'll do, for the second sock, before we hit the heel, we'll do 13 pattern repeats plus one row. So let me just write this down so that when I get to the second sock, I remember. 13 pattern repeats plus round one. And then start heel. Okay, let me just grab my needles. Oof. I know that was attractive, me getting right in the screen there, but it is what it is. ChiaoGoo needles, they're not Addi Turbos, they're ChiaoGoo. Now we all know. Okay. Let's get comfy, cozy. So what we're going to do is we're going to knit across the sole, put those both on one needle. Actually, I should break this now because otherwise it's going to be tricky. Yeah, I'm going to break it now. So It just makes it a little bit easier when you're knitting across to have it on. The other thing that you could do if you were making these yourselves would be to put this on a circular needle, and then the circular portion, I'm going to leave that right there, the circular portion would then just hang, and you could, excuse me, the cable portion would just hang, and you can just knit as needed. Okay, so we're knitting across for one round. So this is that round. And we're putting all of these sole stitches onto one needle to make the heel easier. And we'll have 30 stitches on one needle. I feel like my mic is in the wrong spot. Sorry about this. Hopefully you can still hear me all right though. Okay. So the sole stitches are all on one needle. I'm just going to confirm there's actually 30 stitches here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Perfect. And we'll do round one of the lace pattern. Which is going in through the proper area on the stitch. What the heck? 1, 2, purl 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, purl 1. 2, purl 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, purl, knit 2, purl 1, yarn over, knit 2 together, purl 1. Yeah, I don't know. My one screen keeps telling me I have no internet, so I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know. I look fine on the one on this screen. Maybe I'm on two different because I'm using one Chromebook. One. I'm stopping in the middle of a row, and what did I say about that? What did I say? I said that's not something that we should be doing. No, it's on the same network. I don't know what the deal is here. I don't know. I thought maybe we were on a different Wi-Fi connection, but it's not happening. Okay, so it's fine. It's totally fine. Let's just keep knitting. Just keep knitting. Channel our inner Dory. And just keep knitting. 2. Yarn over, knit 2 together. Okay, so we are now ready for our heel. So I'm just going to scroll through my pattern here. So we're working back and forth across this needle only. So we're going to knit 25 stitches, and then we're going to do some wraps and turns. Same way that we worked the toe. So That'll be to the second last stitch because there are 30 on this needle. And you're going to see some magic once this heel is worked up. It's so cool. This is definitely one of my favorite heels because it just, to me, seems so magical. There is nothing short rows can't do. All right, so that's 29. Then we're going to move the working yarn as if to purl, slip the last unworked stitch, and then turn our work. Okay, and then we're going to slip the first unworked stitch back onto the right hand needle, purl the next stitch so the yarn will be in front, and work to purl across to the last stitch. Okay, so we're wrapping and turning the second last, or the last stitch again. The trickiest part of working across this way is the other needles getting in the way. At least that's a problem that I always have. It's that second needle, or that first needle is always in the way, so across the purls. And we're going to go to 14 stitches, which is the same number of stitches that we had at the toe. So the heel and toe are actually worked the same way on this pattern. So we're at the last stitch. We're going to put the yarn in the back, slip the stitch, turn our work, slip that stitch back, and then knit, because our yarn will be on the back of the work. And we're going to repeat this now across, wrapping the stitch just prior the last wrapped stitch until there are 14 unwrapped stitches in the middle. Which means there should be 8 wrapped stitches on each side, totaling 30 stitches. Sometimes I find it easier to count the wrapped stitches as I go. So the last stitch was the wrapped stitch here. I just slipped that stitch without actually knitting it. Oh no, I did. It's knit. All right, so we're wrapping. That's 2. And purl back across, doing the same thing. It's pretty repetitive, but it works. I need more yarn. Here we go. Now it's getting quite dark in here. I wonder if I shouldn't turn that other light off. I don't know. Lighting in sunny days. I wonder if there's a way to do a stream like this outside. If I thought I had internet problems inside, can you imagine if I went outside for this stuff? My needle is in the way. All right. Yarn to the back, slip the stitch. There we go. That's 2 on each side. As we knit more rows, the extra needles here will just fall by the wayside and not get in the way, but it's getting to that point. Alright, time to wrap. Yarn comes front, slip, turn our work, purl across, and we do the same thing again. Oh, I'm so thinking about those sandwiches for supper. I'm so hungry. Fruit did not cut it. It was not enough. I should have had a granola bar or something. Something with a little bit more filler. Okay. Third last stitch is the wrapped stitch. So yarn goes to the back. And it comes back. There we are. 3 wrapped stitches on each side. Well, I think we may go a little bit longer than I had planned today, just so that we can finish this heel. Basically what we're doing is we're doing the wrapped stitches to down to 14, and then we're going to pick them all up again, just like we did with the heel, with the toe, excuse me, the other day. Which will leave us available to do the leg next week. Because I don't want to stop in the middle of a heel work. Although with a short row heel it's not hard to pick up again and figure out where you are, but it makes things a little bit easier if we can do it all in one go. Even my music's starting to cut out now. I don't know what's going on, man. It is what it is. We're just knitting. We're just gonna knit. And if it drops, well, then it drops. Turn and pull some more yarn out here. Four stitches on each side. We're working on number 5 now. goes fairly quickly once you get what you're supposed to do. And heels and toes are usually the trickier parts for folks, the heels especially. But we've already done this on the toes, so we're familiar with what needs to be done. There's 5, and we purl back for the 5th on the other side. There we go. Wrapping and turning. Sorry, I got a little quiet there. I zoned out for a moment. It is meditative, right? That's what I said. That's what I mean. It's good zoning out tasks. I can't even tell you what I was thinking about there. I was just all of a sudden at the end of the row and realized I hadn't been speaking. So that's 5 on either side. We're working on number 6. That's it right there. Goes a lot faster on the knit sides. And there's fewer stitches to work as well, right? And after stream today, I'm going to try these on and just make sure that they're actually going to work, because we'll have the heel done. I have no doubts that it'll work. I tried it on prior to the stream today and it was fitting just fine, so it should be just fine once we finish the heel as well. Three more. 1, 2, 3, and there's our wrap stitch. There we go. 6 on each side, 2 more to go, and then we'll start picking up those wraps. One thing I will say about the instructions for these heels and toes is the pattern is very clear, which is great if this is one of your first times trying a short row heel or toe. Okay, so we're doing number 7 on the wrapped stitch. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. And again to 7 on the purl side. And once we have 8 wrap stitches on either side, 14 unworked stitches on the middle, we will have the full foot length done. And we should be sitting at right about 9 inches, hopefully. There is a bit of give. Obviously, there's a bit of stretch with yarn, so it doesn't have to be exact, but It should be a comfortable sizing. There we go, 7 on each side, and we're doing our last set here. Pull out some more yarn. There we go. This one should be our 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Slip that over, and we should be able to do 14 stitches to get our last one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep. There's our last stitch, so we have our numbers correct. I'm just going to, to kind of show you, it's going to be a little bit tricky to measure here because we have it at a bit of an angle, but I will show you. This should be fairly close to our finished foot length, which is 23.5 centimeters. We're at 23. Not quite 23.5, but that could come from the difficulty in the measurement, or in the way the needles are sitting right now. But we're at 23, so that's pretty good. 0.5 centimeter of stretch is pretty decent. All right, so we are now half done our heel. All right, so we have turned. We're going to now knit across the 14 live stitches to the first wrapped stitch. And we're going to do a double wrap again, which it did work out all right on the toes, but it's not as seamless as I like. I don't know if you can see that on the toes. Let's see here. Probably not. It's not really great. There is a seam right across here. Might be able to see it a bit more on this side. Maybe not. There's a bit of just the way the stitches are laying, it makes it a bit of a seam, which is not my preference, but that's what the pattern has, so we'll do it that way. All right, so we've wrapped. We're now going to knit and pick up and wrap. So we're going to knit across these 14 stitches to the first wrapped stitch. And we're going to pick up that wrap and knit it together with the stitch. And then we're going to wrap the next stitch and turn. I think that the designer is doing this to avoid gaps in the wraps. So, because often you will have, if you don't do that, you will have a gap between the wraps, and you just need to tighten up your tension a bit to avoid that. But this may be the reason why this designer has opted to double wrap. And we're going to pick up the wrapped stitches again, do the exact same thing all the way back across. Pick up the wrap. And purl together because we're on a purl section. And wrap the next stitch. And by the time we're done with the heel today, we'll have a little anklet, which is great. And if you decided that you were done at that point, you could just finish off and do your cuff. It's not what I intend to do. I intend to do probably another 6 or 7 inches of leg. We're picking up both wrapped sections here on this next stitch. And again, wrapping and slipping back. And then purling across, doing the same thing. Yeah, the only thing I'm not liking about this double wrap stitch is it's creating a bit of a seam because of it's almost an extra bubble due to the extra yarn. I'm not a fan of that. But it is working. Picking up both wraps, and it's tedious to pick up 2 wraps, I'm finding. Because of course there's 2 that you need to pick up. Yeah, okay. I thought maybe I had just knit my wrapped stitch. We're okay. Going across. I don't know if you can see, but you can kind of see how it's now. There's this tiny little heel forming right here. We'll see it better in a moment once I actually get the heel complete. You'll be able to see an actual thing that looks like a sock. I don't know what I just did there. I think I just knit into the bottom of that other stitch. It's fine. Yeah, I almost did it again. Yeah, there's a bit of a seam happening here again. Maybe I'm just not picking up the wrapped stitches properly. That might be it. It might just be a user error thing because it's supposed to be seamless. And it doesn't appear to be seamless. Oops, sorry about that. Wrapping the next stitch and then going back. My yarn should be in the front here. There we are. Because we are purling across. I'm gonna lose this needle. Here we are. Okay. Picking up the next wraps. Purling all that together and wrapping the next stitch. We're down to 4 stitches on each side, so we're getting there. We'll be working all of them across. So the pattern, the designer also recommends that if need be, you can pick up an extra stitch in between so that there's no gaps between the lace work and the heel. Sometimes you'll find that there's a gap. So if that's the case, we'll take a look once we get there. I don't think it'll be a problem. I don't know that we did that on the toes. I don't remember. I don't think we did. I know there was a problem with the toes picking it up from the crochet cast on. And so I had to kind of jig things through, but I don't think I had an extra stitch. All right, we are wrapping and turning, slipping and wrapping and turning and wrapping and turning and slipping. Here we go. And purling across. I think what I may also do, excuse me, no, I think I'll just work one more lace row so that we take care of the yarn overs so they're not still live on our needles. And then we'll call it a day for today once we finish up this heel. Which is pretty good if we consider how much we've done in just 2 sessions. That's in 6 hours we've gotten an entire foot done. That's pretty great. Wrapping and turning and knitting across. Just over 6 hours, I guess. No, roughly 6 hours, because we took breaks and we chatted. Oof, this is yucky looking. I'm picking up these stitches are yucky looking. Ooh, I just dropped a needle. Luckily, I have another one right here. Okay. We need to wrap and turn again. But first, I'm going to take a drink. And pick up my needle because it didn't fall far. Okay. So we just knit those. We need to wrap and turn. Excuse me. My throat is starting to get dry. I've been talking too much. Slip No, we already slipped. This needs to be purled. Oh, I'm gonna lose this needle again. There we are. Well, we're getting to the end of this heel. This is fine. This is going. I may have to look up some videos on wrapping and turning and see if there's something I can do differently to make it less bubbly at the seams. Because this is feeling very cumbersome, you know? Like there's just a lot happening at these edges. That is a pearl, and we're picking up these wrappings. And purling it all together. And wrapping again. Slipping turn. I almost feel like I did one of these twice. Maybe I have, I don't know. Maybe I have. Let's get some more yarn here. Doesn't look like it when I look at the seams, but it feels like it. It's like a little nose sticking out here. Just want to boop that nose. All right, we're picking up both these wraps. If I can, without picking up the other yarn. There we are. That was weird. Knitting those all together, and we're wrapping the next stitch. That's 2 left on that side. And purling across. And this is going to end us up with the purl row being the last row of the heel, which means we can just pick up our lace pattern the same as we did across the foot, all the way up the leg, which is very lovely. And part of the beauty of a short row heel, it doesn't interrupt the other pattern, so got a little pocket. So pocket, hot pocket, pocket, pocket. Okay. We're picking up these wraps and purling everything together. Purling everything together. Yeesh. There we go, wrapping the next stitch. Down to 2 on that side. We're getting there, fam. If I can not knock anything over, that would be great. Okay. Second last wrap on this side. You can really start to see that there's a distinct heel here. It's gonna be great. So exciting. I love this magic. Let me know what you think. If you'd like to see the second sock done on stream, or if that one should be done off stream, if you're interested in seeing the same pattern again, or if you want something different, let me know. Shoot me a message. Picking up these stitches on the second last wrapping. Feels like it's knitting 3 together is the problem, which makes it bulky. So I'm wrapping the last stitch. And we'll go to the second last one on the purl side again. These needles are sliding out of the stitches, the lace portion. Hopefully I haven't dropped any. We'll find out when I knit across there. I really don't like to leave yarn overs live on a needle. There's no reason for them to slip off. However, in my head I see them falling off. Okay, second last one, we're picking up the stitches and then we're purling everything together and wrapping the last stitch. All right, last set of rows across. Here we go. This one's a slipped stitch and then we knit. Okay, knitting to the last one, we're going to pick up the last wrapped stitch, and then we'll do one more purl row across, excuse me, and we'll be done our heel. This is very nap-inducing music. Or maybe I'm just sleepy. All right, we're picking up the last wraps. Oh. Oof. That very first wrap that we did. Oh, I dropped the stitch. I have words. Okay, I've got everything picked up again. We're knitting that last stitch. I'm going to pull out some yarn and then we'll purl across. And we'll see how it looks. We may have to include an extra stitch here. It's pretty, there's a pretty big gap. So I don't know if you can see there, it's fairly wide, so I think I will pick up an extra stitch in between here and then knit those two together when I do the next row. So we're going to purl across. All right. think I will pick up an extra stitch there. Hopefully this song is all right. We'll find out. Okay, so we're heading into the last heel stitch. Without dropping any other stitches. Let's see if we can do this way without dropping stitches. All right. And there's going to be a gap there as well, so I will pick up another stitch. So we have, can you see that? There is a heel. Done. How cool is that? So I'm just going to work one more row of the lace pattern. Yep, this just goes, now the rest of the pattern is we just continue on the same way that we worked the foot, doing the lace pattern and the stockinette. No, let me see now. There should be the lace pattern all the way around, I would think. So let me see. Work 2 lace pattern repeats as you did for the foot. On the third pattern repeat, begin lace pattern on all 60 stitches. Okay, good. So that way we'll have the lace all the way around. So this way we can have a bit of heel without the lace pattern. All right, this is good. So we are on, we did one row of lace pattern. So we're gonna work now row 2. I'm just scrolling past here to get to that portion of the pattern. So I'm gonna knit across while picking up a stitch at the corner. So I'm just gonna actually just slip that stitch so that we're not working it twice. Knitting across. And it's an even row on the lace pattern. Which makes it easy. All right, so we're here. I'm going to just pick up an extra stitch here. All I'm gonna do is pick up this stitch. See if you can see here. I'm gonna just pick up this stitch that's laying in between there, and we're gonna knit those two together so that it closes up the gap. And let's work this one. Knit 2, purl 1 all the way across. And then we'll pick up an extra stitch on the next corner as well, and that'll close up that edge of gap. I think I'm going to add an extra needle at that portion too. Well, on the next row. Next week we'll do that. We'll add an extra needle. Oops. I'll have to make sure to write down exactly where we stopped today. Otherwise, next week I'll be looking at this going, what pattern repeat number are we on? All right, so I'm just going to pick up this other stitch. And again, I don't know if you can see, there is a stitch right there. I'm just going to pick that up and knit it together with the next stitch, thereby closing the gap. So I'm just going to knit across to about halfway. Three, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We should have 15 on this side as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Perfect. So voila, we have a heel done. We have a foot, and the gaps are nicely closed there. So let's see if you can, I'll take a better photo and post it up on Instagram and Twitter so you can actually see. And our lace pattern. No changes there, we're good to go. All right, so we did an entire foot in 2 sessions. That's really great. So the next time we get together for this sock will be on Sunday next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll pick this up again and just continue on in the foot. In the meantime, if you feel that an evening stream is better, let me know. We'll go from there. I'm thinking an evening stream right now is going to be a better option. The lighting is awful here, eh? Oh, anyway. There we are. Anyway, I'm thinking an evening stream is going to work out a little bit better as far as getting folks chatting. So that may be what we'll do. In the meantime, next week, I think I'll still do an afternoon stream and see how that goes. All right, so I appreciate you joining me today. We did a lot of good work. This is really good. I'm excited to have this sock done and to try it on here in a moment. As soon as I shut this off, I'm going to stick it on my foot and see how it fits. Should be good. All right, so we will see you next week. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye.